In our first scene, we're looking at a server-side component that is leveraging the power of React and NextJS. The createServer component function is imported from NextServer, which is used to define a component that runs on the server. We export a default asynchronous component that takes params from the context, specifically the slug that comes from the URL. We use this slug to fetch the appropriate data by calling a fetchData based on slug function, and then pass this data as a prop to your component, a React component that we will render on the server side. Moving on to the second scene, we're setting up our dynamic route using Next.js's routing capabilities. The import create next path comes from next paths and is used to define the pattern of the URL. Here, slug is the dynamic part of the URL, meaning it can be replaced by any string. The dynamic route will trigger our server component when a request with this pattern is received. Additionally, we define a config object with a runtime property set to Node.js, specifying that this component should be run on the server. In scene 3, we're looking at how users can navigate between server-rendered pages with Next.js. We import link from NextLink, a component used for client-side transitions between routes. Inside the navigation component, we create a series of links, like Route 1 and Route 2. These links will navigate to their respective dynamic routes when clicked, showing the server-rendered page for each one without reloading the entire application. In our final scene, let's go through the data fetching logic that our server component uses. We define an asynchronous function fetchData based on slug which takes a slug as a parameter. In this example, we simulate fetching data from an API. We make a fetch request to a fictional URL, appending the slug to the endpoint. After awaiting the response and converting it to JSON format, we return the data so that it can be passed as a prop to our server-rendered component.